Welcome back to the Marching Arts Podcast. I am the Stressmaster.
And I, thankfully, this week am not the Stressmaster.
You Stressmastered a lot last week. I'm Jenn. Nice to be back again.
How many times did we record the first 15 minutes of that podcast last week? About 5?
At least 4 or 5. Especially, what was it? Which reveal was it? Boston?
I forgot to do this, and I was like, oh, shit, I forgot that, and whatever.
Yeah,
well, we had lots of glitches during Boston's announcement.
That's okay. We just had to re-record that part again because I forgot to turn my audio on. But anyway, so welcome back to the podcast. I'm glad to be back. Thank you guys so much for covering last week. We have a lot of news this week. A lot of news. A lot of show reveal info. We have uniform reveals. We actually have video of 2 corps shows, so only parts of their shows, but let's get to it. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Not the Stressmaster.
And now the news, and a lot of news we have to go through, folks, so I'm not going to do it all myself. We're going to go ahead and each take little turns, so I will press the old fancy share screen button. Right, so the first thing we're going to look at, folks, is the Cavaliers. We did touch on this last week. Their show has been announced as called Beneath the Armor. This week, however, they have announced their repertoire, which I'm going to be generous. I'm going to have an open mind here. It's somewhat interesting. Not quite what I was expecting when I saw the imagery and everything of this show, but the repertoire includes I Want You to Want Me by Cheap Trick, Music for Prague 1968 by Carl Husa, You've Changed by Billie Holiday, Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson, Bring Me to Life by Evanescence, and some original compositions. So, yeah. What do you guys think?
Who wants to go first?
Hey, listen, don't be so quick to jump in first on this one, guys.
You know, I've been on like the DCP pages and I'm reading a lot of people's opinions and everything. And here's the thing. I went back. Anytime Richard Saucedo is writing original music for the Cavaliers, it's really good. I mean, all of those early aughts, all the way to like 2010, he had a hand in original music and they were like top 3 corps. So I am really intrigued to see how those pieces of pop music reach into original compositions, plural, by, you know. So I'm giving them the benefit of I will wait and see because of his involvement in his compositions, as well as the other 2. I have heard a lot of people are kind of poo-pooing, but then people are coming in and saying, you just got to see it. You know, we've been to spring training. So we might be pleasantly surprised because if you look at like when they did, oh my gosh, the not Mad World, but when they did of Creativity and Madness, ending with Rufus Wainwright and the little interjections of Over the Rainbow, that was phenomenal. That was a really intense show. So we could be pleasantly surprised here. I'm not going to write them off yet, you know?
Justin?
Yeah.
Say something.
I'm trying to think of words. I wasn't overjoyed with the musical selections, but like Jen said, sometimes you kind of have to just wait and see what they're going to do with it, because Blue Devil, sometimes some of the music they put out, I'm like, what the heck is this stuff? And they make it work. So, I mean, Cheap Trick though, I mean, I guess maybe if they do some way of it, I don't know.
I just feel like some of these pieces are going to be audio snippets.
That's what I think too. I think there's going to be like little, maybe storytelling devices, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It sounds like their show is going to all about like, you know, beneath the exterior is the internal person, and this is all the different moods of that person or something. So we'll see.
And
I mean, when they did Extraordinary, oh my dog, sorry. When they did Extraordinary in 2011, I think it was, they had Nature Boy listed as one of their pieces, and it was nothing but audio.
Yeah,
So,
and as we said when we were chatting before the pod started recording, I mean, it seems that the who's got a dog in the background, by the way?
yeah, it's me. I'm going to close my door. Sorry.
It seems that the modern way of drum corps programming is 15 songs crammed into 11 minutes. So we don't know how much of these particular pieces of music we're going to actually hear, or like if they're just going to be audio samples or whatever. So that is Cavaliers. I'll keep an open mind. I'm concerned is what I'll say. So next up is Carolina Crown has released their uniform reveal, so we'll have a look at that.
Oh, can't hear sound, but that's okay. We don't want sound. I'll put sound underneath it.
I'll just kill the sound anyway.
Yeah. I really like the guard uniforms. I think they're effective, and I actually, and something we're going to watch later, you can actually see them in action. The corps uniforms, they're too muted color-wise for me. Just the gray and the black is, I think it's just gray and black, right?
Mm-hmm. I think the battery is going to be in that bronzy color, that earth tone, because there's two, core
to
proper,
me,
that.
To me, and what I think, like Blue Devils does really well, even though they do different iterations of the Blue Devils colors and jackets, they integrate the guard colors into the uniform to kind of help tie it all together as one thing. But to me, it's kind of like the same as what we've seen in the past. Same kind of color scheme, same kind of muted dark colors. And on the field, to me, it's not very poppy. It doesn't come out of the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm not a fan of this, and it does seem to be a fad at the moment within the activity of dressing the battery in a different uniform than the brass. I'm not particularly a fan of that, simply because it makes the battery look small and it makes the horn line look smaller than they actually are. And when I look at this, though, what I'm not seeing is, if you're going to dress the battery in a different color than the brass line, then make it a completely different color. This to me just looks a little bit muddy, if I'm honest with you. The other thing that we're not seeing in this image as well that I do wonder is, are they going to have any headgear as well? I think that this uniform without some form of headgear is possibly a bit of a mistake, but I'm always a proponent of headgear anyway. So that is Carolina Crown.
Yeah, I like the guard uniforms. I'll wait and see on the rest of it, but I don't know. I mean, I'm a guard person, so that's what I'm looking anyways.
So while we're talking about new looks, this is certainly striking. Boston Crusaders has released their new look, and wow, there's some opinions knocking about it.
Yeah, isn't this proving to be super divisive? I mean, if anything, Boston's got people talking. They had people talking last year about their sudden shift to the uniform they had last year. So this is more of the same of that concept.
For me, from a visual design perspective, I do have concerns around the multicolored aspect of it. And Justin, you can talk on that a little bit more, because obviously you've got more experience from the visual design perspective. But to me, I think these colors are just going to mix on the field. I think that looking at that image as well, and we'll look at the guard uniforms in a sec as well. Looking at these here, it appears that those are LED lights on the hats, I guess you'd call them. They're not really a Shako, I suppose. It'd be interesting to see what they do with those. To me, that whole effect will be lost completely in a daytime environment. And my concern about that as well is that if their intervals aren't exactly bang on perfect, it's going to show every single mistake. Now, that being said, I'd be interested to see how they integrate that light, assuming it's a light. I'd be interested to see how they integrate that into the concept of glitch. So can they change the colors of those lights, for instance? Is it RGB, those lights, or I think there's a lot more that we're not seeing thus far.
Yeah, and I still stand with those hoops are lit.
And there's the guard uniform there as well.
I really like the guard uniform.
Yeah, I do as well.
I like it. And whether it's going to show up on the field is questionable. But if I'm looking at just the guard uniforms alone, I like the guard uniforms.
What's weird though is they flipped the colors from like what Carolina Crown did. So the guard is in the more muted, and the core proper is in all the multicolors. To me, it would have been made more sense to have the guard in the multicolor. But I don't really, and I agree with you, Kaden. I don't like multicolors because I just did 96 Blue Devils, and their Zoot suits. The color guard was in all different colors, exactly. And it was not what's the word? Visually, it wasn't cohesive in terms of everybody was. You couldn't tell who was who. You know, I mean, you could tell the core from the guard, but it became muddled. You know what I mean? Just kind of like a muddled color palette. Where to me, it's like if you had, and I don't know, maybe the whole point of the glitch is that you see all the different colors of the spectrum, and it's good. They're gonna maybe do something visually where it creates the glitch feel. But I think overall throughout the whole show, if they're not the bottom half, maybe they're really not focused on the bottom half. They're maybe focused only on the top half, and that's why they're all the same.
The thing is, to me, taken individually, I like all the individual colors, you know. And to me, if I were Boston and I wanted to do something a bit edgy, and I wanted to also appeal to my historical fan base. To me, I don't know if you can see my mouse moving here, but this guy right in the back is that's what I would have gone with for the entire musician section of the corps. These lights, assuming that they're RGB, you could mess around with color with those. And then furthermore, this image here, it's the first time I've seen this image. I can't help but notice this guy here, his light's not working.
Oh, they might be working. It's just an angle.
Could be.
Just speaking from photography.
Right. So I like the idea that they're trying something really bold. I could be completely talking out my backside, and this could end up being the greatest thing since sliced bread, for all we know.
Well, I want to pipe in here really quick because I haven't said much about this. Yeah, whenever someone puts a horn line in multi different uniforms, or the horn and the battery, things like that, they add an extra layer of cleaning. We did in '94. We had all different flags for one of our pieces, and no matter how clean we were, it looked dirty because the brain is trying to rectify all of that.
You just added a problem to yourself.
So you've added another layer of visual cleaning, and when you're in the top, and I've said this privately in our chats, when you're in the top 4, we're splitting hairs of hundreds of points. And this is either going to make them or potentially just add more work to it. Now, Boston and the Bridge Tour used the big LED panels, and their entire show was synced perfectly with those LED panels when they worked. So they are coming off of that year and building on this. So we might see things that are controlled by their soundboard or their electronics as far as like programming what's on their helmets, their shakos, whatever they're called, their headwear, we might see some of that, and it could be when it's all together, it looks great, but if they have an issue, then it becomes an issue,
Yeah. I do also
adding this level of tech is a risk, and I applaud them for taking that risk, but it may be, we'll just have to wait and see,
Yeah, I do also wonder if they still have those LED boards, because it seems like this would be the perfect show for those LED boards. So
I would have sold those so fast. What an investment.
All right, and the final thing that I've got to bring to the table for this news segment is, unfortunately, it's sad news, I'm afraid, and that is coming from the World of Open class. Heatwave has announced that they're not touring in 2024. I'll go ahead and read the announcement word for word. It's not that long, and then we can talk about it. So, after analyzing all options, the Heatwave of Florida Incorporated Board of Directors has decided not to field a corps in the 2024 DCI season. Our focus now shifts fully to supporting our members who would still like to participate in the DCI this summer. We are optimistic about continuing our post-pandemic growth and our plans to better serve our members in the 2024 season. The environment is changing, and key items led us to make this very tough decision Like other corps this year, we struggled to obtain new members. Smaller corps like Heatwave have less margin to work on, and the current corps size is not fiscally or practically viable. Camp housing in Florida continues to be a major issue, with public schools not allowing overnight stays. Inflation of operating costs no longer supports a small core business model. With current membership, transportation and housing would have accounted for 80% of our budget. The board takes full responsibility for the result and timing of this unfortunate announcement. While we share in both the sadness and frustration felt by the members, parents, and volunteers, we also thank those who have contributed to the Corps this year. We send our best wishes to our fellow Corps and the DCI community for a great season. As we work through every viable option to return to the field in the future, we remain committed to our core values of fostering self-confidence, the furtherance of integrity, the continued cultivation of community. We'll have further news, blah, blah, blah. Wow. I think that it sucks to drop that in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super critical of the board in this position. I understand what they're going through, and
they knew this months ago.
They could have done this months ago. And I'm, but we're helping place the other kids, but they don't have the same opportunities they would have had in November or January or February. So I'm super critical of where do you fit 40 kids? I'm assuming they probably had about 40 kids. It's a safe number when they say we had a hard time obtaining members. So I am critical of that. I wish them the best, but they also need to, get their act together in that regard. So
I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but I don't see how they come back from this.
Yeah,
if you're struggling for membership and then they all go.
Yeah.
If you're struggling for membership in Florida, of all places, when you think of all of the big high school marching bands coming out of Florida.
Yeah, I totally get it. Magic of Orlando, right? They were around for a little while and they were really, really successful, but they eventually went away as well because it's very hard in Florida apparently.
Yeah. Well, and again, like whenever you're a drum corps on a coast or up in a corner or down in a corner as they were in Florida, getting out of Florida is a day on its own. We know what it's like driving up and down California. Getting out of California is a day, so it's a long drive to go from Sacramento to what's the first show in Utah, Ogden?
Yeah, Ogden, 14 hours.
Yeah, right? So
you guys just keep talking. I'm looking for something real quick.
Okay.
All right, we'll keep rambling.
Waving at us for. So that's that's something to be said, that these are real challenges for, I consider ourselves lucky being in the Midwest, at Phantom, and because we can kind of get everywhere. But when you get a corps like Academy down in Arizona, you get corps like the Cascades, and they have a whole other layer of how do we pay for all of this? Because transportation is a huge piece of the pie right now. And Heatwave is right. Housing is a nightmare. Someone just asked us where we were housing. I can't even remember where it was. And the answer was, we're still working on that. We're in June, and this is a problem for everybody. We're on the brink of tour. And towards the end of tour, there are still drum corps trying to nail down housing.
Yeah. Yeah. Who is just, what I find interesting is BD goes all the way to Laramie.
To Wyoming? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, that's the most random thing. They go from California to Wyoming for like 2 or 3 weeks. Then they come back. Yeah. It's really interesting.
Sometimes it's the school that wants you. We were in Kentucky for spring training. So that's an 8 or 9 hour drive from Rockford, but that's who wanted us, and that's where we got a great deal, and it's great. It's going to be a home for us. We just had the best experience with the people at Kentucky Wesleyan and the community, so we're hoping to build on that relationship.
You're forgetting something about BD, though, is that BD's also doing spring training at 8,000 feet altitude.
Well, true, but then they're going to come back and lose it all.
Yeah, right? Yeah, they're just going to acclimate.
But don't you remember, though, how much stronger we were after we'd come out of Utah and all that stuff?
In Colorado,
we'd come down to hit Kansas and be like, my God, the brass line was 10 decibels louder,
Yeah,
so
but then that all subsides.
So to try to bring some help, at least to the folks from Heatwave, I've just brought up this other screen. So these are the cores as of a few days ago that we're still showing open spots available. This image is taken from our good friends over at the Drum Corps Coffee Shops page. So as you can see, there are spots out there. Are there enough
for
to
color guard people?
Yeah.
Every single except for Blue Knights. Everyone says color guard.
So I know that I was just talking about some stuff that wasn't very fun to talk about. So I did find a couple of images just to lighten things up a little bit. So here's one to all of our snare homies out there, because every fella knows the rules about the urinals. You don't stand next to the guy next to you unless you play snare.
And then you also don't start up a conversation while you're using it.
Head and eyes straight forward. And I found your horn, Justin.
Oh God, my horns never look like that. I didn't march euphonium. The euphoniums, remember, they used to break apart.
I'm pretty sure that's an old freelancer's horn, you know.
I was about to say, like, the last year.
Yikes.
Anyway, right, Jen, you're up then.
All right, so I'm going to talk about all things Phantom Regiment. Yesterday was FanCon, and it was so much fun. I mean, we just watched a bunch of old shows and got little behind-the-scenes peeks, and the big culmination of the day was our show announcement, which is Mind. It's so funny. I'm already out in the interwebs and Reddit and everything, and people are like, they spelled Mind wrong. And I'm like, ugh. So anyways, this show looks really cool, and I know I'm a honk, whatever. I'm alumni. I'm involved. I get it. But just looking at the quality of our graphic, I'm so excited to get a t-shirt with this on it. It is, excuse me, a super cool concept, I think. Talking about the inner workings of our minds. And I always kind of think about those nights when I'm like, I said something really stupid. Now I'm going to dwell on this at 2:00 in the morning. I feel like, we always have a running concept in our mind and thoughts that battle each other. And Tony went into great depth yesterday at FanCon about what the show was kind of about. And in this press release on the Facebook page, you'll get the link to it. It actually talks in great depth of what this show is going to be about. So I'm really excited about it. The repertoire is, of course, everybody knows Moonlight Sonata by Ludwig van Beethoven, but then it gets a little more unknown to me. So Surfacing by Dave Hall, Equilibrium by Paul Lovett Cooper, Fly or Die by, is that Gillis or Giles Roca, and Pillar 3 by Andy Akio. By what I'm following, people that are in the world of compositions and music and playing, there's some excitement about Equilibrium, Fly or Die, which is amazing, and Pillar 3. Tony did allude that there is something behind Pillar 3 in the closer, but they're keeping that a little bit close to the vest. I don't know what it is myself, but they're not letting anybody know what that is quite yet. So a lot of percussion featuring going on. So it just seems really exciting. I've gotten a little sneak at what some of the uniform components are, not the whole uniform, not anything. And I'm super excited for this year. It's kind of a nice build off of last year. And yeah, so I can't wait for June 26th in Rockford.
So how much did you guys raise?
They're still doing final numbers. I know we were right around 25 or 30K. So,
little of that's for me. So,
awesome. Thank you. Little that's for me too.
I couldn't afford much, but I gave you what I could.
Hey, sometimes $5 is what we need.
Moonlight Sonata, obviously, everybody knows that. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know any of the other music, so I've had to go away and and look it up. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about the music. It is obscure. There's no getting around that. This isn't your father's Phantom Regiment anymore. I don't think it has been for a while now. And I'm okay with that. Because Phantom Regiment, you guys do seem to have this innate ability to, whatever you're putting on the field, it feels like Phantom Regiment,
Yeah.
And I do think that some of that is possibly down to the musical arrangements and the way that you guys arrange things. And also specifically when I'm talking about brass, because I am a brass guy, the way that J.D. Shaw arranges things, and also the way that he fills out the brass line, for instance, with 24 euphoniums instead of any baritones. It does provide a very, very distinct. The word I've always described with a J.D. Shaw Phantom Regiment brass line, or any brass line for that matter that J.D. Shaw's been involved with, is just beefy. It's just got a lot of bottom end beef to it.
Yeah.
And I really like that. So yeah, I'm excited to see the show. I actually did watch most of FanCon yesterday. I had it on in the background while I was doing some painting and stuff. And the thing I found quite interesting, talk about watching the old shows, is I didn't pay much I've told you before, Jen, I'm a relatively recent convert to being a fan with a PH. Okay. And I can't really say that I paid a great deal of attention to Phantom Regiment in the early 80s. So I can't recall having ever watched Spartacus, for instance.
Yeah.
And it was interesting to watch the 1982 version of Spartacus, and then a few minutes later watching the 2008 version. In fact, I put a comment on the page there that I didn't realize how true to the musical book 82 was to 2008.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. They did not venture far.
Yeah, no, it was a really good thing, and I'm really glad that it was by all accounts a success. So
yeah,
Justin,
it's fun to see the growth of it. When I was marching, Jim Wren was doing all of the arrangements, and he was the Phantom Sound. And and now JD has taken that mantle, and yeah, we lost him for a little bit, but he's home. And it's kind of nice to build off of this is what Phantom sounds like. This is what modern Phantom sounds like. And it's an identity, and we plan on keeping it.
Yeah, I mean, what's fun, when I was doing the 90s videos, I'm actually, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch them. I'm up through 97. I'm going to be posting 98 soon, and then 99. But what's really interesting is like a lot of the shows even in the 80s and 90s, you can tell who was on the field. Like if I was outside the stadium and I heard the horn line, I'd go, oh, that's Speedy, or that's Phantom, or that's Cavaliers, or that's whoever. Now it's really hard to tell who's on the field. Phantom still has that vibe. You can tell it's Phantom. You can still tell it's Blue Devils.
Yeah.
Even Cavaliers. But some of the other corps, I wouldn't be able to tell you who they were.
To me, there's two corps that are competing today that if I were to have my eyes closed, if you were to have them all play a C major chord, I could tell you who Blue Devils is and I could tell you who Phantom is. I couldn't tell you who anybody else is. They all sound the same to me.
Yeah.
I can tell you Crown is.
Crown
props
yeah,
for
Crown.
And that's the one thing from like the peaks of the components of the uniforms that I have seen. The one thing that keeps coming out of the camps is this belief that we are going to appeal to our alumni as well. That while this is a departure and it is the modern Phantom Regiment, our alumni are going to be fully behind this. So I'm going to give props there.
Yeah, you know what though? Even though it's the Phantom Sound, they've always been kind of doing different things. I mean, when they did, what was I trying to think of? Gosh darn it! I just lost my train of thought. Not La Boheme. Even 2022, like a lot of that was kind of the first year that they started kind of coming back to that Phantom-esque sound. But even before then, you could still tell it was Phantom. But I think what they're really writing now, which is a great wave of, we can still sound like Phantom, but we can progress into different musical experiences. They're not kind of like caged in. Because like in the 80s, everybody was kind of caged into, you had to have an opener, you had to have a drum solo, you had to have a ballad, you had to have a closer, and everybody's playing the same damn music, just different.
In the same order, yeah.
Yeah, and then in the 90s, that's when everybody kind of started experimenting and going different directions. When you had like, let's say 91 Phantom, right? And like this crazy opera, and then 92, completely back to where they were. It's just like, this just weirdness. But anyway, I guess my point is like even though it's still evolving, I think that they are smart in keeping that Phantom sound, that Phantom look, the Phantom feel. You know what I mean? So like when you're going to this DCI, you want to see Phantom. You want to see, and I think some corps need to take that into heart, into their hearts a little bit, because they're trying to stray way too far from their base, and that's where it's going to get you. Yeah, that's what's going to get you in the end.
And we talked about that last week about corps straying too far from their identity.
Yep.
All right, are we ready to move to the next one?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to switch it here. The power of editing. Okay.
All right. So the next one is Pacific Crest 2024, music selections for the Broken Column. I have no guesses on what this is going to be about, but so Benediction and Dream by Elliot Goldenthal, Burning Bed, also by Elliot Goldenthal. Ooh, I don't even want to try and attempt that name. Harmonie Lair or something like that. John Adams, California Counterpoint, The Twittering Machine, Cindy McTee, yay, female composer. Ramalama Bang Bang, Matthew John Herbert and Rosen Murphy. Passage, Cynthia Yi Shi, Vienna Tang, and The Mountains Rising Nowhere. I'm just going to give out, I love female representation in composers. So
I think
I'm
Vienna Tang is a pianist.
Oh, really?
And she like lightning fast. I think that's the person I'm thinking of. She plays like lightning fast stuff. So I'm wondering if that's what that is.
Yeah, could be. So
That'd be cool.
I'm intrigued by this. I really just looking at show announcements aside, there's something a little bit classic about this. I'm as far as like maybe what their color palette's going to look like, what their props are going to look like. I always like Pacific Crest. They're a great organization. I like their shows. I want the best for them. I would love to see them in the top 12 at some point because I think they've been working towards that. They were close last year, but it was just a bloodbath in that bottom, that kind of 10 through 14, and they just came out on the other end of that. So best of luck to them this year, because this is I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, you got some thoughts there?
I don't know a single bit of the music that they're playing.
I don't
either.
You know what?
There isn't a single thing on there that makes me go, yay. Okay, and
I like John Adams.
Yeah, and to me that to me is, and this is gonna make me sound like an old man, and I promise you I'm not an old man. I'm progressive. I like modern drum corps. That's the reason I'm doing this podcast and putting out videos and so on and so forth. I like DCI in the 2020s, but there isn't a single thing about that that's making me jump up and want to watch that show. And now, to be fair, I think that I've always said I won't sugarcoat my thoughts or my opinions. So, and I hope they prove me wrong. That being said, I think that looking at last year, I think that that's a corps that had the talent to make finals. I think that they played it safe with the show. And by the time that they'd realized that they played it safe with the show, it was too late in the season to do anything about it. You look at that last minute and a half of that show, and it just is so just molasses-like slow to develop. Okay, to me, this almost seems like we're taking and swinging the bat in completely the other direction, and I'm like, I'm not sure. So I'm going to reserve judgment, is what I'm saying.
Part of what caught them, this is the same thing that may have caught Phantom last year, was that if you have to have room to develop all the way through the season. It's if you run out of places to grow your production in the last 3 weeks of the season, other organizations are going to catch up. And
these guys, they got passed last year.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I think, what happened to them, is that they didn't have room to really judge that closer. I don't know. I mean, there's two camps of modern drum corps fans, and some of them love a lot of the pop culture references we have and the pop music that we're putting in, recognizable songs. There's always people that want recognizable songs. But then there's other people that are like, I didn't come to DCI to listen to Lady Gaga or Britney Spears or any of that. So there's two camps of this. Like, I'm okay not understanding or not knowing these pieces if the production is fine. I mean, okay, I know Beethoven and Phantom's piece, but the rest of it's foreign to me. There's no pop culture in that, and so.
But that being said, we're ramming 7 pieces of obscure music into 11 and a half minutes. It's already obscure music. How am I going to... If it's something that I don't already know, to me, that worries me. So...
But I think, I mean, let's take Bluecoats, Riffs and Revelations, right? If you were to listen to that music, like without the core there, it's cool music, right? I think it's part of this is we don't know any of this stuff. This isn't traditional of anything, but I think what cores have gotten really good at doing is going, okay, I like this song, but I like this piece of the song. Yeah. And then I like this song, and I like this piece of the song. Well, what if I marry them together and kind of weave them together, and now I can create a whole new thing? And I think that and honestly, I'd rather see this than seeing Cheap Trick, Lady Gaga, Blink-182, or whoever on the field, because I don't want to see that on the field. I just don't.
But then you have the Blue Devils that can make Britney Spears interesting. So go ahead.
Did they though?
I thought so.
Because I can't even tell you what show that came from. I just remember they did it.
Thought so. I mean, look, I know I'm being critical, but I'm probably being critical because I really like Pacific Crest, and I'd really like Pacific Crest to make finals. You know, I remember a day when a third of the top 12 came from California. You know, and I'd love to see that again. But
right.
But yes, that's how I like. Look, the people that are designing these shows are smarter than me, is what I'll say. So
I'm not designing shows, so that has to be set for something.
Okay, so now we're gonna jump into a little bit more, and then we need to get to the videos because we have a couple videos we're gonna be watching. So I'm gonna try to go a little bit quicker through this because I have a hard stop in 30 minutes. Mosaic. So this is Madison Scouts show. Piece together Madison isms for a new era. So basically it's kind of like, I think it sounds like a tribute kind of thing. A recognizable drill formation or simple, consistent style performance are often signature movements. So basically I think what they're trying to do is trying to make a modern show, but make it Madison. Mm-hmm.
They're trying to win some alumni back.
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud? So.
You did say it out loud.
Well, they need to. They need to. There's no question about that.
You guys did the repertoire last week, right? Or did we not do the repertoire?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, here it is. It's right here. Yeah, no, we did this before. White Rabbit.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Okay. Egyptian Danza, Man of Fire. Okay.
So to me, when we're talking about Madison Scouts, I go back to your Best of the 90s series, Justin, right? And I look at those shows. A Drum Corps Fan's Dream, Pirates of Lake Mendota. Ironically enough, by the way, I'm going to be recording, unless you want to jump on this with me, my Wheel of Fate. I did that 2019 Blue Knights episode, which, by the way, I said nice things about the Blue Knights, okay? And when I spun the wheel, nobody can see this, so you just have to take my word for it, but it landed on 1988 Madison Scouts. So, so I look at shows like Madison Scouts 88, 89 even. Make his praise glorious. These were all shows that made you stand up and take notice because the badass Madison Scouts were on the field. Okay, you looked at. Do you think back to when we marched, Justin? We were always told march like Madison.
Yeah.
You know, march like Madison. They had a look about them. They had an air about them. They had a certain je ne sais quoi. I like to use big words. But you just knew that the damn Madison Scouts were on the field, okay? And before anybody freaks out, it has nothing to do with genitalia or plumbing, okay? Boys and girls can be in the Madison Scouts, and I am perfectly okay with that, all right? They can still be badass. And that, to me, is what has been missing for the last several years. That we had a little bit of a taste of it in a couple years ago when they had what was the name of the show, the Tower show or whatever it was. Do you know where the drum line was wearing the Smokey Bear hats?
What?
I don't remember that.
I don't know what you're talking about. Smokey Bear hats.
They were in Camp.
You mean the Aussies?
But the last couple of minutes of the show just had we got a taste of old Madison. I'll find you the link and you can intersperse it here if you want, Justin.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had We've had these tastes of old Madison that have just gone away. So I don't really care where the Madison Scouts place. I'd love it if they made finals again, okay? I couldn't care less where they place. I just want to see them reclaim their identity. And to me, that is what has been missing. Because I've actually gone and I've watched the Heart show, for instance. It actually wasn't that bad musically, okay? But it just had nothing about it that said Madison Scouts. Same couple years ago, when they did that show where they came out wearing the white with the orange frillies and all that stuff. So that's what I want to see from this year's Madison Scouts. I just want to see the badass Madison Scouts again.
All right.
We need to crack on. Sorry, guys. I have like 22 minutes, so we got to roll. Okay, so Blue Stars, I don't know, and we've all had discussions about Blue Stars. We'll see. You got to kind of wait and see what they put out there. Universal, so it looks like they're doing these different composers. Once again, you said 11 songs or 7 songs in 11 minutes. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Mm-hmm. Coldplay. Do we really need Coldplay? I mean, can we please stop with
Coldplay,
the rock
SZA.
music and drum corps? Nobody. I mean, let's be honest. I don't like it. I don't think it works. I don't think it is effective. I mean, maybe there's some cool moments in there, and there are some probably some modern music that might be kind of cool in a show. But it's like, we've done all this. We've been here. We've done this thing for the last 10 years. I'm tired of Lady Gaga. I'm tired of Britney Spears. I'm tired of Coldplay.
If it's Coldplay.
I'm tired of everybody.
You know what? Their Coldplay might be yellow. Look at the stars. Look how they shine for you.
Yep.
It's pretty literal.
I've seen Coldplay live. They were literally the most boring band I've ever seen live.
They are.
Yeah, I mean,
I want to like the Blue Stars because you know what?
Oh, look, I was right.
Yeah, look at you.
I want to like the Blue Stars because I crapped all over them last year, and I don't apologize for that. And I haven't liked a Blue Stars show since probably 2016, whatever the year they did the Call of the Wild show was. I want to like them because what I see the core members over the last several years being served up soup sandwiches design-wise, and I think it's just wasting talent. I really do. So hopefully this is something that connects with the crowd. I'm at least happy that there's pieces of music there that I know, even if I don't like Coldplay.
My criticism of Blue Stars is the amount of stuff they try and fit on the field. There are always everything in the kitchen sink on the field. And
this to me,
it's hard to watch.
This to me is screaming sugar cubes and spoons.
Well, yeah, I mean, and like I said, I'm one of those people. I really like their show Into the Wild. I thought, big set piece on the corner wasn't too much for just, they climb up and down a few times. But they had this wonderful moment in the back of the field where they had tents and the tents lit up or something like that. And having that framework be minimal, that was a minimal show for them. And I would like to see them go back to that with
that
this
prop
show
was
and
that,
let their talent not get swallowed up by their props.
So how tall was that prop, by the way?
It was an ocean nightmare.
Okay, so this is fresh from Reddit and fresh from Instagram, as you guys can tell. Carolina Crown, this is only like a minute of their show, but they have like props. Look at this huge, the video quality is not very good. Huge staircase kind of a prop here. They have their different, so what's their show title again? I'm
Promethean.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So they have like these mountain kind of things here. Very colorful. You can see the color guard orange here. Let's go and watch.
Oh, they're in uniform, aren't they?
Yeah,
yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It does clear up about 10 seconds in or so. Here we go. Jeez. Okay. Impressions.
I'll go.
Go.
We're spread over about 80 yards. I liked that.
Yeah.
It's early season, so I'm not going to crap all over the sound guys yet, but to me there's a little bit too much bottom end synthesizer there. Although they did seem to pull it back on the last chord, so I could actually hear the tubas. There seems to be a lot going on the field. And I know that it's a low quality video clip and all that. However, the thing that I was concerned about with those uniforms seems to be bearing out in that it's just kind of a bit of a visual muddle.
And I think they're wearing an overlay.
Yeah, it does.
Because if you notice, they're kind of
overlay.
It's kind of flowy.
Yeah.
And I bet you they're going to probably take those off at some point.
But yeah, what I'm saying is, I know it's early season, so I know that I'm not going to judge too much based on a relatively low quality video recording that was obviously taken on a phone. Overall, I'm pretty excited about it.
The whole middle of that field from the 30 to the 30 is some kind of logo, and it's just a hot mess of visual nightmare.
That doesn't help either, yeah.
Not helping at all. The vantage point, this is probably the worst vantage point in a drum corps stadium, when you're not quite high enough and you're not low enough, you know?
Exactly.
So there's something to be said with that. I am intrigued with how they're going to use that prop. It looks like it might have a spiral staircase up to the top. It does remind me of the Cadets old prop. I'm going to put it out there, when they did that statues show.
Yep.
And that, I mean, I saw that from the first promo. I was like, oh, what's going on here? You know, I'm excited. I love their color guard. There's an aesthetic to their color guard, the way they carried their dance training that I've always really liked. With the exception of their Beast show, I love Crown. I love them every year. Even 2019, which some people didn't like.
I love that show.
Love that show. I love that show.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this. This is the kind of Crown that I like. So I'm glad to see them.
Yeah,
We'll see
I
what
really
happens.
think their uniforms, the core uniforms, are going to muddle their visual, because anytime you have a pillowy top or like a loose top, like let's look at like Santa Clara Vanguard when we wore the pajamas, man. It was a visual nightmare for me, because it's like you can't see structure of form because you have cloth moving like this, and so even if you have a straight line, it's not straight.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
From them.
Yeah, my hope for Crown is that they let their guard be like feature the entire guard. Last year they got drowned behind the three main characters and everything was about Arthur. No offense to that kid, he's amazing. But I want to see that guard not be an afterthought, because they are good. They are really good.
Yeah.
Jen, he smiled when he got stabbed. Okay, come on now.
I'm not going to criticize the kid. That's a ballet thing. That over emotive thing.
Yeah.
That's a ballet theater thing, and he did what he was asked to do. And
now one thing I'm interested to know about is looking at this. We're just looking at an image here, mind you. Is we've got all of these to the number one side of the field there, Justin. If you want to take the cursor and circle them there, is those like sort of mountainy looking things? Mm-hmm. I'm assuming they're on wheels. So
yes.
I'm assuming those are moving around. Yeah.
I'm wondering if these are moving around. If they're not, we're taking away a ton of the stage element of the field as far as maneuvering around. So
yeah, I'm sure all of it moves except for this.
Except for that. That's probably a static piece, because it's giant.
All right. So this is Boston Crusaders in the park. Let me turn this down a little bit. It's probably going to be really loud.
Please welcome from Boston, Massachusetts, the Boston Crusaders, performing their 2024
Can you guys hear okay?
program, Glitch.
good. Okay. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to make it quick because I have 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll go. If they can make the visual show match half of that musical book, Blue Devils better watch out.
Yeah.
That's
it's very Blue Devils, huh?
I like the show. I like what I'm hearing musically. I like Take 5 anyway. I absolutely love Frank Zappa. G-Spot Tornado is a great piece of music. So, and I'm liking what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a good brass ensemble sound. I'm hearing a monster of a mellophone line there. And I would expect nothing less from a Gino Cipriani line. So that's what I'll say on that one. I know we're tight on time.
It's a show that I need to see the visual package with it. There's a lot of synth going on in it. And that could be the quality of the recording I'm listening to on my earbuds. I need to see what the guards. I could see how the guard's going to fit into this. I could see, so I'm super excited to see it, regardless of what we've said about the uniforms. I'll always be excited to see it.
Yeah.
It's kind of I can see the concept in the music, so I like that.
Yeah, it's very like Blue Devils, and I know they're Boston, okay, so please don't hate me, but it's the way that Blue Devils constructs their shows, like a lot of high energy, up stuff, you know what I mean, like that kind of philosophy, and you mix it in with these different elements, but it's all like weaved in to like the fabric of the show. So maybe I shouldn't say it's Blue Devils-esque, but it has that kind of structure. You know what I mean? Structure.
And the thing is, as well, I'll make this my final statement on this, is that before anybody thinks that this is not a Boston-type show, don't forget, Boston played synthesizers in 1985. They played Axel F and got a huge penalty for it. They're not afraid to try things as an organization.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a little bit of touch that bridge here that when Blue Coats did Lucy, And then also when they did the looping, and did I say blue coats? Yeah. When they did the looping and they experimented that way, I like to see drum corps experiment. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I think this will be a cool show. For sure.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Well, so tell us your guys' thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Thank you guys for all your support on all of our videos. We really do appreciate it. Seriously. Make sure you visit the community page. We have lots of different things there. We have our merchandise store, of course. And you guys need to tell me what you guys want merchandise-wise, because you still haven't told me what you want. So I need... So go to the merch store, tell me what you guys want, and then I'll make sure I get it to you.
I live in the north of England. It's always cold here. I'll have a hoodie.
There you go. Well, thank you guys so much. We'll see you on the next podcast, which is going to be next week. So thank you all for joining us. You guys know what to do.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
March on.
March on.
That too.
Like, subscribe, buy something. March on. Ciao.
March on.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.